Good afternoon, everybody. So, gosh, I was going to take a look at my Rotarian magazine and come up with two or three teaser questions for you, but I guess the week kind of got away on me. I never did do that. So we'll just go with any virtual happy dollars. Going once, going twice. Any virtual sad dollars?
Hey, I was on mute there for a sec, Pat. My mistake on that. I would like to throw in a happy dollar. I had a privilege of joining the Early Bird Club meeting last week. Had a delightful time. So a happy dollar just for kind of team club unity and just for an awesome summer, doing events that we can identify given our COVID situation and just being awesome. So thank you.
Sure, thank you. Welcome, Mr. Beck. We are in the happy dollar, sad dollar portion of our meeting. Do you have anything to contribute?
Well, you know what? I just thought I'd throw out. It seems a little weird to say this, but my mother can now accept visitors. It's kind of strange. She's in a retirement community in Kansas City, and I mean they've been, she can kind of meander around the hallways and maybe go outside to the parking lot, but it's been weird. She's not been able to have outside visitors. And so this past week, she was able to have my brother and his wife come in. So, that's progress, and that's a happy dollar, by golly. So she's very happy about that, by the way.
I'll one up you, Mike. This is Lisa. My in-laws have been on lockdown in Oregon, and they're moving here with us in 2 weeks. So they're really breaking out.
Oh, well.
Oh, any other happy dollars?
I will add to that. My GM, her mother-in-law is 94 and lives outside of Chicago, and he said they hadn't asked if she wanted to come because she's 94. She doesn't want to go across the street. Said they called her yesterday, and she literally answered the phone, and after the "Hi, how are you doing?" said, "When are you coming to get me and bring me to Wisconsin?" So.
This is Galen, and I just want to say a happy dollar. I don't know, you can put in 10, mark me down. I'm just glad the online schooling and being a teacher is done. And my kids came under with a little unscathed, but they're fine. So, and I did that purposely with the school district and mine. All credits and hats off. It was
Just cut out, Galen.
What's that? What's that?
Galen, you just cut out. So your last 20 seconds we didn't get.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Just that my kids came out of it unscathed. They seem to be doing okay. How about that?
That's good. Perfect. Yeah, well, I can't wait to see the teacher evaluations they're going to send, though. I don't think that's going to be good for you.
Okay, well, if there aren't any other, back to you, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Appreciate it. And Andrew, would you like to introduce our speaker today?
It will be my pleasure. Thank you, Sean, for the opportunity. So I have the privilege of introducing Angela Lloyd, who is the Director of Pupil Services for the Wausau School District. And since the recent circumstances have presented some complexities, I really want to, just my hat's off to Angie and her team and the Wausau School District and how we've been able to support the community. And so she's here with us today to just basically have a chat about community support and moving forward through the summer into the next school year. So without further ado, Angela Lloyd, the Director of Pupil Services from the Wausau School District.
Hi, thank you for having me today. I recognize most of you. I was part of Rotary 2 years ago, and my schedule got pretty full. I was rarely able to make it to a new meeting on Monday, so withdrew my membership at that time with a heavy heart just due to the demands of my position in the Wausau School District. I do have a presentation. I have not shared on Zoom yet, so just bear with me for a second. Oh, it says host disabled attendee screen sharing.
Oh, well, I don't want to do that. Hold on. I don't know why I did that. Just a second. 6 to 8. Share screen.
If not, I can just talk through the information as well.
Yeah, sorry, it's showing that I'm allowing shared screen, but obviously it's not. Yeah, so.
Yeah. All right, I'll just give you a general overview of the Wausau School District. I know that everybody lives in the community, but you may not know all of, just the statistics throughout the years. But we have currently enrolled in our school district about 8,500 students. Out of 446 school districts in the state, we're 13th largest. So we're a very large school district. In Wisconsin, in other states, they have much larger school districts than we do here, but for here, that we're pretty large. We have about 21 programs in the district at 18 different buildings. So those of you who've lived here a long time, you know that we have an east side and a west side, and that's how our elementaries, middle and high schools are divided. Our east side students end up at Wausau East, west side students end up graduating from Wausau West, with a couple of alternative options then in between. So in the Wausau,
you should be able to share now if you'd like to.
Sure.
By the way.
Let me get it.
There we go.
And let me know if you can see it.
Yep, you're good.
All right, are you able to see it?
Yes.
Okay. We also have about 1,300 employees in our school district, so we're a very large employer in the area. In my realm of the world, I am in charge of mental health and social emotional learning of all of our students, pre-K through 12. Also in charge of school safety, which if you've been following any sort of news in the past 20 years, you know, that's a really big topic. And I could do a whole nother presentation just on that one, but I know we're focused on COVID today. I'm also in charge of crisis response for the district, truancy, nurses, school counselors, and school social workers. I supervise all of those areas. I do a lot with our community partnerships, so working with different community agencies within our area to get their input on, you know, what the school district can do, and then working with them a lot on grant funds and that type of thing. And then what's been most recently taking up all of my time is I'm also the pandemic manager for the district. So as of about March 2nd till now, that has been the focus of really my entire energy has been on that. So as we all know, you know, this pandemic really began to hit the US in March. In early March, we got what was, you know, we had been hearing about COVID overseas. And then all of a sudden, one day, it was right at the end of February, early March, we got a bunch of emails from different agencies, from DPI, and from some of our different law firms that we work with, saying, you know, start working on your pandemic plan right now. So we got our pandemic committee together immediately, and we were able to get that pretty nailed down in a short amount of time. So the Wausau School District was in a pretty good position because we had already been planning virtual learning days for like snow days or those types of things, never anticipating that we would be using it for 2.5 months. But we did have some form of a plan at that point. On March 13th, we found out schools would be closed. At that point, it was only for the 2-week time period, but as we all know, that progressed along the way. So we've been doing the virtual learning since March 16th. That's a really long time. So as one member had just stated, you know, parents are done being the teachers. Teachers are ready to be back in the classroom and be teachers. We're all, you know, nobody wants to get back to the schools more than the people in the schools right now. So we're looking forward to that, hopefully coming up here in the near future. We're also going to be doing virtual summer learning or virtual summer school. Our buildings are technically closed until June 30th. We didn't feel like we would have the right guidelines or guidance in place by July 1st in order to safely bring our kids back for the rest of summer school. So we opted, like many districts did, to do it virtually this summer. So again, our response to this whole fiasco, I think we can safely call it a fiasco right now, was that we would go completely virtual learning. The governor said, we cannot have any instruction or extracurricular activities in any of our buildings until June 30th. So our only option at that point was to do virtual learning. We recognized immediately, because we work with a lot of families who need assistance with food and different items, that we would need to quickly get a plan in order for food distribution. We have 7 sites. We do food distribution every day. The families are supposed to have kids in our districts. However, we have many elderly people who come through our food distribution sites, and we just give them the food. We never ask questions. We recognize that people, you know, have needs, and we want to meet those needs. The state has been really good so far about being able to then give us that money for the food that we've been handing out. We also recognized early on that some of our families didn't have a way to get to the food distribution sites. So we worked with Andrew and his group at First Student to do food deliveries. And we do that every Tuesday. And Andrew, you can chime in on this part if you would like. We have 2 different buses that go. And Andrew, I believe those are both about 5-hour routes. Would that be correct?
Yeah, we were able to refine that. So when we started the first day, the first delivery session, it was about 5 hours, and then, you know, with the great folks that work at the food service, nutrition services, we were able to refine that to about 3 hours per leg of that route. So we've, you know, there's been a lot of effort put in from all aspects of this community relief effort. So kudos to everybody.
So we deliver to about 60 families every week who can't make it to the food distribution sites. And every Tuesday we deliver a week's worth of food to those families. We also have what is called the hygiene bus, and Andrew and his staff have been helping with that as well. We got a grant early on for $10,000 through the community fund or the community foundation, because we have hygiene pantries at every one of our schools. And our kids use them often. So we recognized that that was going to be a hardship for families, especially with families losing their jobs. If we could take some of that pressure off of them and hand out hygiene items, we wanted to do that. So myself and the social workers work on the hygiene bus every week. We run it Monday through Wednesday, and we park at the food distribution sites. And we go through I go to the Dollar Tree, so every product is $1. I spend about $700 a week. So that's a lot of items. That's a lot of items that we're giving out from that hygiene bus. I've seen people cry because they're so happy that we could give them products. People are just so incredibly thankful. So we feel like that has been an incredibly important addition to what we are already doing as a school district in meeting the needs of those families. So looking forward, you know, we were thrown into a world that we've never been thrown into before, just like a lot of you have been. very quickly, we realized internet accessibility was an issue. So we got hotspots for those families who needed them. We worked with a charter, I think was one of the big ones we worked with, where they could give us a good deal on that. But looking into the future, you know, there's still, even if families were able to get internet access, there's still some connection issues that families experience. So we're working on that. And looking at the student, family, and staff needs, this has been a very, very difficult time for everybody. And we recognize that and want to help with that. We have a pandemic committee. It's large, so we have subcommittees. You can look at all the subcommittees that we're looking at. But all of those committees are really focused on their particular area and how we're going to address those needs once we come back in the fall. We are presenting to the board tonight just some of the options we're looking at. I have a faint glimmer of hope right now that we could possibly come back in the fall, everybody at once. That is a faint glimmer of hope. We still need to have a backup plan. So that's really what we're focusing on right now. And you look at all these different pandemic committees, it's a lot of coordinating transportation, helping families to coordinate daycare. I mean, that's one of our really big concerns right now. If we can't bring all of our kids back at once, how on earth are families going to make that work with daycare? So it's a lot of planning at this point. We haven't had a ton of guidance from the state. So we're looking at other states and what they've come up with so far, because a lot of them are ahead of where we are right now. So just trying to look at all the different options and take all of those different things into consideration when making decisions is really important to us. And then to end, you know, just looking at all the different community partnerships that have helped us along the way. The Wausau School District Foundation has been around, I think, for about 20 years, maybe a little bit longer. They help us out financially throughout the year with families who are in times of stress and in times of need. Again, the Community Foundation, we got a $10,000 grant from them for our hygiene products. They basically had me write a three-sentence little explanation, and were able to quickly get us those funds. So we were very thankful of that. United Way has donated a lot of clothing, hygiene products as well, books. We've had books in our projects that we've also given out on the hygiene bus. We work with Blessings in a Backpack every week. They help with giving us extra food for all of our families. I saw a week ago that they were handing out bags of potatoes to people. So, you know, they've been able to get some of that fresh food for us as well. First Student has obviously been imperative. There's no way that we would have been able to do the food delivery or the hygiene bus without them. We just would not have had space in any other vehicle besides a bus. So we're very grateful for them. Looking at the different daycares that we work with, you know, they've been in communication with us and want to help as well in looking to the future. We are also part of the Mental Health Consortium. So our counseling agencies have been working with families through this as well, virtually, giving help to those people who need assistance with, you know, their state of mind and where they are right now with this whole pandemic going on. And we always have many, many churches and community groups who reach out to individual schools and see what the needs are and then provide for those needs. So that's been ongoing for many, many years. And we're very, very appreciative of all the community partnerships that we have in Wausau. So that's basically it in a nutshell. I would love to take any questions you have. I can't give you any for sure's about this fall. Just know that we're really, really working hard constantly on that plan for the fall.
I've got a couple questions.
Sure.
Have you been working with an organization called Child Caring?
Yes. So
Okay, good.
Yeah, that's our contact for childcare has been working with them.
They're the ones, so you're on track. Okay, so the next question I have for you is, you call this a fiasco. What if it's a new normal?
It might be, yeah. And I think, really it's an opportunity for us to take a look at maybe some of the new things we're doing are better than what we were doing before. So I think all organizations are kind of in that same boat right now. Like, let's take this as an opportunity. Let's look at the silver lining and see if we can figure out ways to do things better.
It appears to me that your mission has changed. You're no longer just a school.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you would be correct.
And, maybe that is part of the new normal. I mean, I don't think any of us ever anticipated that this would happen.
Right.
But it sounds like you guys are adapting incredibly well.
Yeah, and we're constantly getting feedback too. We've asked parents to fill out a number of surveys, and I know that's difficult sometimes. You don't want to over ask, but we need all that feedback to make sure we're on the right track, and to figure out what everybody needs.
Exactly. Well, congratulations on what you're doing.
Thank you.
Angela, this is Matt Rowe. I was wondering, was the biggest challenge in retrospect now, somewhat in retrospect now, the technology limitations of many families, or what was the biggest challenge in terms of trying to make this work, at least to the degree it could?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. Two limitations. Yes, technology for sure is one. Also, the second one was that we had to get this put together so quickly that we didn't have enough time to teach kids or families the expectations of what digital learning would look like. So when we're talking, beginning of March, I think March 2nd was our first pandemic committee meeting, where we were like, no way are we ever going to close schools. It's never happened before. And then 14 days later, we're shut down. That's a very short time period to take a system that's been in place for 250 years and flip it. So I think that's really what we need to focus on moving forward, is having plans in place, very set in place, and teaching those expectations before something like this happens.
This is Gayleen. I was the one that put in the happy dollars because I was kind of glad we were getting through the school year. And again, my kids came unscathed and they're fine. I was fortunate. But one thing that we had an advantage, I think, over some of the families is we had both parents. It was a team effort. So I'm sure there were some challenges to those who didn't necessarily have that kind of environment. But I don't know if you could comment on how it was handled with some of the kids who maybe have higher needs, and how was that addressed during this time? Because again, I was very fortunate. My kids are pretty well adaptive. They've been able to do, we had some struggles, but we made it through. But I'd be curious on how the school district handled those situations where maybe they didn't necessarily have the support or didn't know how to handle, or how those things were taken care of as far as kids who maybe need that higher interaction or higher needs.
Sure, I can answer that. So our number one goal was to make sure every child was safe during all of this. So we had kids on a continuum. We had some kids who were fully engaged, all the way to kids who we had to utilize our SROs or our school resource officers to go to their house to make sure that they were okay, because we weren't hearing from them. So it definitely took a community effort. Teachers, pupil services members, counselors, contacting those families every single day to make sure that the kids were, first of all, okay, and then second of all, were engaging as much as they were able to, given the circumstances. We certainly recognize that there were lots of working parents some in one parent household, some in two parent households, where the parents weren't available to help their child with the schoolwork. And we, you know, that's part of our coming back to school plan, is how are we going to remediate that or get kids up to where they need to be, recognizing that everybody was thrown into this. And it was nobody's fault, and we just needed to do the best that we could with what we were given. But yeah, we had people checking in with kids constantly. We utilized every person that we had available to do that.
Hi, this is Rosemary Barnes.
Hi, Rosemary.
I came in a little bit late, so you maybe addressed this. There are lots of different school districts in Marathon County, Langley County. Is the Wausau School District working with other school districts for best practices and helping in particular if it's a smaller school district?
Yeah. So our superintendent, he actually has a meeting this Friday with the rest of the area superintendents. And we really, our interest is in, you know, hopefully doing whatever plan everybody else is doing, because we recognize that we have families who work in other districts, and, you know, there's a lot of crossover between the districts, but the smaller districts don't have somebody like me who's focused specifically on this. So yes, I've been sharing the other plans from other states with them, because that's really what we're building our plan on, because Wisconsin hasn't come out with guidance yet. So yeah, sharing all those resources and talking with them and letting them know what we're doing, because we're the largest school in the county. So a lot of them follow then what our lead, if it works for them. So we're in constant communication with them, yes.
This is Lisa Dodson. I have a comment and a question. One is in comment to Carl's that this is new for the schools. I don't think this is new for the schools. I think the delivery system of all of the social services that you provide is kind of new, but I think that you've been doing it for a long time and increasingly over my lifetime at least. So thank you for that. I think that, you know, again, stepping up and really showing how that can be done. My question is maybe premature, but in light of all of the unrest around the country and the relationship changes with law enforcement, are they involved in this discussion with you at all about reopening, and how are you know, student safety issues being addressed in new ways maybe, or has that changed at all?
Yeah, so I'm the liaison for the school district between the school district and Wausau Police Department and the Sheriff's Department. And yes, so we keep them abreast of all of our conversations as well. And as far as safety through this all, you know, we still needed to keep tabs on that. So we have what's called Gaggle, and it's part of Google. So we have Gmail accounts for all of our students. And what Gaggle does is if it sees any words that would be considered, you know, like a crisis. So like if they see the word suicide or cutting or drinking or smoking or anything like that, it will flag myself and the administrators in the building where that student goes to school. So then we follow up right away with the family and the student if it's immediate. And we've had some of this in the past where we'll get a flag of suicide where we immediately call law enforcement and they go over and do a welfare check right away. So we're still keeping tabs on that. We also have what's called Handle with Care, where if any police officer in our community has any contact with any of our students, so like if there was a domestic abuse or a child abuse case, they email me right away. So we're aware of that and we can get supports in place for that child immediately. So those things have considered through COVID, or have stayed consistent through COVID.
Hi, Mike Beck. I just you kind of touched on a couple of things that I'm interested in, but this remediation. I mean, these kids, they hit a point, and you know, I think it'd be hard pressed to say they're 100% engaged. I mean, their lives are completely disrupted, and in a lot of cases, really disrupted. And you know, that going to school is, for some kids, is probably the most normal thing they've got going. And I guess, what does that look like? Sort of trying to pick back up, and what additional? I don't know. Can you do any additional things to sort of you know, sort of pick back up from what they lost? I don't know. I'm not exactly sure what that question is, but you know, they lost something in that process. And by the way, congratulations. I mean, and thank you, because what an extraordinary task you've had to undertake. But obviously there are a lot of loose ends.
Yeah, and that's really what we're trying to work with right now, are all those loose ends. And there's research out there right now that says, yes, remediate all these students, or no, just plow forward with the curriculum. So we have a whole entire subcommittee focused on that and looking at all the research to try to figure out what's going to be best for our students. And really, it's probably going to come down to each individual student, what they need. So yeah, we're preparing for that right now. I don't have a good answer for you, but we're working on it.
And teachers, I mean, how are teachers faring? What's your, I mean, yeah, the emotional toll it's taken on them is significant as well.
Yeah, they have been phenomenal. I mean, there's no other word for it. They've taken what seemed to be impossible and have done really well with it. So yeah, I commend all the teachers. I was a teacher at one point, and man, they already have a tough job, but to put them in a situation like this, they just did it without you know, without faltering, which is amazing.
Any other questions? Really, I agree. The work that that you and your colleagues in the district and the teachers have done in this incredibly unique situation really is to be commended, and hopefully better days ahead as we look, as I think we all look forward to the fall with, like you said, a glimmer of hope while making backup plans that we hope that we don't need to use, and perhaps taking some of the lessons we've learned and carrying them through. So thank you so much.
Sean, can I ask another question? This is Galen.
Sure.
Hey, I got a curious question. I don't know if this can be answered. I got two part. One is, what is the time frame? Kind of thinking, do they, I know that with the state Supreme Court, it obviously is left at the hands of DPI. Does DPI even give you kind of a game plan of like, you should know by the July 15th or August 1st or something? Have they given any kind of time frame of what we could expect this fall? That's question one.
I think we've been a little bit surprised with that. We thought we would have something already. So they said that by June 30th that they will have some guidance for us. That's too late. We need to plan before that, and parents need to know what that plan is so they can start planning. So tonight we're just giving the school board an overview on the different options we're looking at. We will bring it back to them on June 22nd, and then they will vote on that on July 8th. So then we will, as soon as they vote on that, we'll get communication out to parents so parents know and can start to plan for the fall.
And that's kind of a follow-up question to that then. I assume that even if there is a somewhat going back, I assume that it's going to be much different. Probably sort of a gateway of going into school and checking kids for temperatures, etc. I'm sure there's a plan in place, or that is probably part of the plan. Would that be correct?
Yeah, we have a whole subcommittee devoted to just health. So they're, we're looking at buying the PPE right now. Hand sanitizer is hard to come about in the amount we need it. FEMA just confiscated some of our hand sanitizer. I didn't even know they could do that. It was en route to us and they took it. So, all of those things have to be in place as well. So we really want to lay out to parents so it's not a surprise if we can't get hand sanitizer in, but we have to have it. that we wouldn't be able to start when we thought we could. So all of those things, you know, we need to really lay out and make it very clear in the plan.
I had a chuckle when you just said that because we actually ordered some as well here at the town of Rib Mountain, and it was supposed to come in May. That might explain why we haven't received ours either. So as a reminder, the Wausau School District did step up for us. We do have some of your portable hand sanitizers here at the town that we use for the election. So I appreciate the school district and pitching in. But last question, and this may be more of an Andrew question. How I've heard stories coming from parents from the other DC Everest School District or something with the school busing. Is that true that we might be going to every other seat, and how much of a burden or what kind of burden or what could happen to that scenario? I'm not sure how crowded the buses get now outside of COVID, but what's the scoop on that?
I can start, and then Andrew, if you want to jump in. So our buses are pretty full. So we also have the city bus that takes a lot of our middle school and high school students to school. And right now the city bus will only allow 10 people, including the driver on the bus. So that's not much room, you know, and the community also uses the city bus. So they're in conversation, they're in that transportation subcommittee conversation. Andrew, do you want to just speak to First Student and how many kids are on the bus there?
Yeah, of course, Angie. Thank you. Thank you, Galen, for the question. So as an organization, we are defining guidelines as we move through the summer. We have a devoted region safety staff. So we have a region safety manager that coordinates with our location safety manager regularly. And we've developed a guideline for 50% bus capacity moving into the next school year. So for instance, a 72 passenger school bus would then be 36 passengers. We're also working on guidelines with our district to ensure that folks that live together can sit together on the bus as well. So there's some refinements that we're applying, but as an organization, we're defaulting to a 50% bus capacity kind of configuration, Galen. And, you know, that's, you know, for the student safety, for efficiency, as well as driver safety and family safety. So does that answer your question properly?
Yeah, it does. And I'm thinking I might help the cause. Maybe my husband and I could coordinate and not have the kids use the bus when all possible. Or my son has been wanting to ride his bike too. So maybe that will encourage him to ride his bike.
Well, Angie, I have a question for Angie. What are some ways that we can help as a community, either by volunteering or donating time, money, or indoor resources?
Yeah, that's a good question. Once this is once we get back to whatever new normal there is, we will need to refill, because we took all of the hygiene products from all of our hygiene pantries in every school and put it on the bus, and that quickly, you know, was distributed to families. We're going to need to rebuild all of our food pantries and our hygiene pantries in our schools once we can get back in there. So we could use donations for that. That's just general hygiene: toothbrushes, toothpaste, shampoo, conditioners, those types of things. If I think of more, Andrew, I can let you know, but that's really the big one that we're thinking about right now.
Okay, so product donations. Awesome. Thank you, Angie.
Sure.
Any other questions? This has been incredibly informative, and yeah, I can't imagine it's hard enough to try and do these things when you have guidance and a pathway, much less creating it all on your own or begging and borrowing from other states and school districts. So yes, yeah, we're in the same boat. So I absolutely can commiserate and appreciate everything you've done. So yeah, well, good. Any other questions, comments? Well, wonderful. Well, thanks. That was incredibly informative, and good luck in the coming, starting tonight and in the coming weeks and months as we navigate whatever this new normal is that we all try and figure out. So with that, thanks everybody. Great to have a good group on this afternoon. Thanks to all the board members who joined us for board meetings, and I'll give you a second to unmute so we can, yeah, I will say that Patrick Bradley just said the best thing, so I will make sure to share it with those of you who can't see the chat. Kind of like building the plane while it is in the air. Yes, that is very much what school districts are trying to do. So, you know, and doing so that as much as Galen has been an outstanding instructor, we can get the kids back in front of their real instructors come fall. So, as I said, thanks everybody for joining us. Let's conclude the meeting, start the rest of the week with the 4-way test. You have to unmute your microphone. Of the things you think to say or do,
is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build
goodwill,
better friendship?
Will it be
beneficial to all concerned?
We're getting better. Hey, you know, by the time we get through this, we are going to have this on cue on that. But until then, so well, thanks everybody. Have a great week. You know, survived the tropical depression. Who knew? You know, in Wisconsin. So anyway,
Bye.
Thank you,
everybody.
Bye. Thank you.